I got a lot to cover, Danny. I mean, it's a ton. Like the show is going to be how I you see my screen, Daniel. How it's got 3 screens. That's where the show is. It's just this one solid root right in my brain, and then a bunch of branches that I want to talk about. So I think COVID is now taking hold into consumer confidence. Consumer confidence is a precursor to lower markets. I will show you that in a few seconds. Okay? I got some wage stuff I want to talk about. Everything that's going to help us make you save money. In terms of, I've got a study to show you. I've also have a big picture piece that I want to talk about with power and electric companies. Okay.
All right.
That not the most exciting topic, right? But this face, this brain, more importantly, this brain is going to make it exciting. Okay. I've got Alex, who I can't see Alex right now, but I imagine he's just doing curls with 25-pound dumbbells. Hunter just fixing his hair. Don looking like Kiss. And so we've got the whole cast of characters here ready to help you start because this show is sent out over the weekend. Start your journey. Stock nerds
sitting on the edge of my seat.
Precipice, Danny. Precipice. Stock nerds and market lovers both know that you can get this show hours early if you go to the website, revereasset.com. And I can show you, like, if you just go to revereasset.com and then you click on the podcast tab right here, you don't have to wait for it to update to iTunes. You don't have to wait for it to update Google Play. You don't have to wait to it to be sent to your device. You just go to the podcast page and you watch early. That means you're ahead of everybody. That
Head of the curve.
That is the stock nerd and market lover's edge. But listen, before we do any of this, Daniel, get all these papers out of my way here. Have you seen?
Oh, thank God! I thought he was going to read.
Have you seen this?
Hold on. What is this?
This is heaven.
Oh,
this is when when you get to heaven, you don't see St. Peter, you see this.
All right, for audio listeners, what are we looking at?
We're looking at futuristic Taco Bell, where you can eat like a king. And let me tell you something. This Taco Bell is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's the Mona Lisa of fast food. It's Leonardo da Vinci.
I thought you were saying DiCaprio.
Not DiCaprio.
It's the Titanic of fast food. Love me.
Taco Bell?
Stay with me, Kate.
What's
the girl's name in that?
It's Rose.
Rose.
How do I know that?
Wow, Hunter.
Thanks, buddy.
How do I?
Kate Winslet played Rose. Yes. Like it. Look at this. It's an elevator. It's like a bank. It's got 4 drive-thrus. I bet you your food comes through one of those tubes. Remember when you used to go to the drive-thru
That would
bank?
be awesome.
And like you put your money in this bag. Like I bet you they're sending burritos down the tubes.
Like, I'm not sure I want my hard shell party pack coming through one of those tubes.
Yes, you do. You absolutely do.
I don't know if my Baja Blast can get Baja Blast.
Yes, they've got a specific, like, is Taco Bell the biggest purveyor of Mountain Dew products in it? By the way, they're coming out with
Baja Blast.
Hard drink. Yep.
Yeah, they're coming. Mountain Dew is partnered with Samuel Adams, SAM, ticker symbol there.
Yep.
You know why they first came out?
Mountain Dew?
The reason they came.
Why?
It was actually supposed to be to mix with whiskey, bourbon. It was supposed to be for
Really?
mix. Yes.
I heard Mountain Dew was a moonshine.
And
they made it in the
yeah,
mountains.
well, it's for moonshine. It was to
called
mix with moonshine
Yeah.
and yes.
They were moonshining out in the mountains.
And whiskey.
Mountain
And that
Dew.
you mixed it. It was for a mixed drink.
Yeah.
And their first tagline was, "It'll warm your innards."
Is it?
Yeah, I remember
that was decades
I've seen
ago.
that before.
Wow.
Yep. And
right.
now they're going back to their roots.
Hey, can you find when you do the
the Google?
taglines
Yeah.
or whatever you do, Zach, to
Warm
make
your
us-
innards?
Yeah, can you throw that somewhere in the
Yes.
title? This show will warm your innards.
Yeah. Stocks to warm your innards.
Stocks to warm. Did we just name the show?
We did.
Yeah, stocks to warm your.
Perfect.
What's that, Don?
Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, and look, this is.
I want clarification. I want to make sure we spell innards right. INARDS.
Innards?
INN.
I think it's I and N. There's two N's in it.
2 N's in it. Don, can we get
Well,
a
Don
roll
is
on-
the dictionary. What do you got, Don?
2 N's.
2 N's.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Well, I'm sorry. That's not a word I spell often.
Innards.
ARDS.
Innards.
This is a very fancy.
Like you should tuck that chest hair innards your shirt.
No.
That's an E, Tim. That's an E.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Man.
Yes, I can use innards in a sentence. Spelling bee.
Tim, you sound like you're a little jealous because of your lack of chest hair.
No,
Wow.
I am.
He does sit down to pee. He does sit down to pee.
Listen, just did it again last night. Like,
You just got emasculated. Tim.
like here's
Just
the
got
thing. I
emasculated.
went and ran like 5 or 6 miles yesterday, and then
Without help?
I needed by the end I needed help. It's like 100 degrees out here, 107 degrees. It's hot, and so I wanted to challenge myself when I was feeling good, and then I was not feeling good at the end, and so like my
Did
legs.
you have some Mountain Dew?
No, I woke up in the middle of the night and had to pee. I'm like, oh, my legs aren't moving. I mean, let's not even. We didn't even think about standing for that. We absolutely sat down. And I think all middle-aged men who are trying to stay in shape, preserve your legs, save your legs for when you need them. I figure.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
think about it, Danny. If I sit down, how long does it take to pee? 2 minutes? 3 minutes?
That's a
3
long.
minutes?
Is that a long pee?
100
I've never
feet?
tied
Yeah.
it. I've never tied
He
it.
has trouble
I've never-
emptying himself.
I drink a lot too. I've never.
That's when you know you're middle aged. When your urologist says you have trouble. You have trouble emptying.
Let's see.
Wow.
If it takes a minute to pee, and I sit down for those minutes, and I pee one. If you pee every night, right? How many nights do I have left? Like
Is
a
this
gazillion?
a stock show?
Probably. We're gonna
I
get
know.
to this.
Wait, hold on a second.
There's a lot of time saved. Like, how much am I saving my legs in like knee replacement by sitting down to pee in the middle of the night?
It's bad for your joints standing.
Tim, do you want me to get you some Depends? You can just get some Depends.
That's right.
I bought them for my grandpa before he
Give him a
passed away. I'll get you some, and then you don't even have to get out of bed.
That efficiency is everything. Is everything I'm all about. So look, Applebee's. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Hunter. What would you?
Well,
go ahead.
I thought it. I mean, considering the fact that you're trying to preserve your legs
Mhm.
and prevent injury as you approach your older age, there,
Mhm.
maybe you should get with Carson Wentz about a similar strategy, sitting down to pee so he can keep his ankles and
Dear
knees
Carson.
And whatnot.
By the way, Carson might come back first week.
Oh my God,
I didn't think it happened.
Hunter,
Really?
stop
Yeah,
bringing
no.
it to football.
Hold on a
We're going to
second.
take
Carson-
another left.
Carson Wentz is slated to. I don't. They must have got there's some holy water on his foot. So Carson Wentz was supposed to be out like 3 or 4 weeks of the regular season. Now he's scheduled to come back first week of the season, which means if Carson Wentz plays, I think 70% of the snaps for the Indianapolis Colts, the Eagles get a first-round draft pick out of this, which means they'll have 3 first-round draft picks in 2022.
So they've got an incentive to send him out for
Well,
one game or 2 games.
well, maybe that's
Possibly,
some gamesmanship right there. But look, Applebee's is going to be getting a drive-through. I mean, come on, Applebee's.
Taco Bell? Applebee's?
Applebee's
I
get a
don't
drive-through.
want Applebee's.
No,
Oh,
nobody
Applebee's.
wants
not
Applebee's.
Applebee's guy.
Nobody wants Applebee's.
Oh, says
And-
the guy who's bringing up Taco Bell.
and nobody,
Yeah.
no, but everybody wants Taco Bell drive-through. Danny,
What?
Danny, look at this thing.
This is Texas. Nobody likes Taco Bell in Texas except you.
Oh my gosh, Danny.
You know how many good fast food Mexican drive-thrus there are versus Taco Bell?
Have you tried Taco Bueno?
Taco Bueno, it doesn't hold a candle to Taco Bell.
Cabana.
Taco
Ta-
Cabana is much better.
Oh my gosh, Taco
much
Cabana.
better.
Taco Cabana is the Walmart restroom to Mexican food.
Three or
Ta-
four hot sauces they make in house. Taco Bell is like assembly line meat. Oh man,
Look, those people, those folks up in the north side of the United States, they like this.
Taco Bueno is the COVID to Mexican.
well, I don't
food.
eat a Taco Bueno either. I don't eat either one.
Taco.
Taco Bell.
By the way, Taco Cabana got sold. That used to be Fiesta Restaurant Group, and they have Polo Tropical or Tropical Polo Tropical, and they actually sold off Taco Cabana to a private equity group, and they kept Polo Tropical, which is interesting to me because the Polo Tropical just right up the road here from this, it's just right up Preston, actually went under like 10 months after it opened. Like I don't know who's going there.
I never had
Well,
one of those,
it's
yeah.
when you've got so many mom and pop Mexican restaurants around here.
No, the Polo Tropical.
No, I'm saying it's tough for the fast food Mexican places.
It's the Polo Tropical isn't a Mexican place. It's literally fancied itself like tropical, like jerk chicken type stuff.
Yeah.
That's a chain though, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
chain.
Polo
Yeah,
Tropical.
yeah.
There's
Fiesta.
one close
Yep.
to here.
Never been. Like I literally kept forgetting about it. And then I was like, oh, I'll stop in there and see what it's about. Like I like Fiesta.
But the main thing is, you think that modern new wave looking
It
Taco
says
Bell
it's
is
a-
going to make a difference once you eat their food?
It's a 2-story Taco Bell. Oh my gosh! Funny you said that. This is funny that you said that. The recesses of my brain, Daniel, know no bounds. So when a McDonald's,
More taste.
I got to give Danny credit there. That's awesome. That is really good timing from Daniel. 30%. So when a McDonald's renovates, their sales increase by 30%. That's why they renovate.
When they put those plate stations in there, that's when they do really well.
They-
That's what Taco Bell should do. Put a playhouse with the little slide and
I
stuff.
don't
I
know
thought
if I'd
you-
want to go to the Taco Bell Playhouse.
I don't want to go to the Taco Bell Playhouse. What
you
do you
wouldn't be admitted. You're too tall, Hunter. They wouldn't let you in.
Hunter, did you ever have
That's
a birthday
true.
party
That's
at a
true.
McDonald's?
No, I
When you
did
were a
not.
kid?
You're missing out.
Hunter,
I had
just
one.
because they would tell you were too old to go down the slide.
No, the McDonald's renovations generate 30% more sales because it's perception, man. Perception is reality. It looks cleaner. You think it's cleaner. The whole 9 yards.
And this Taco Bell drive-thru stuff does look a little bit like what Chick-fil-A's done, and they've seen huge booms in
Yep.
business since they've grown out their
Darn straight.
drive-thru
Chip,
vertically.
except
to have more-
Chick-fil-A's food is very good.
Well, you
And
see, you make a good
Chick-fil-A's
point.
employees are very much a lot better. Can you
Chick-fil-A's
imagine
customer
that
service-
many Taco Bell
Customer service
employees?
is and the restaurant is clean.
Right, Chick-fil-A's
Clean.
like
You're a clean freak, a germaphobe, Tim. I'm surprised you'd even walk into a Taco Bell.
well, he drive
Ones that I've seen.
Truth be told, I haven't been to a Taco Bell since 2019.
Yeah, go inside, go to the restroom.
I
and
know
missing
what
out.
they're like. I know
right.
what they're
No,
like.
just go through the drive-through. Don't look inside.
On-
Ignorance is bliss.
On
No,
your way back- on your way
I
out
got
to
to tell you
studio,
what. Taco Bell would do wonders if they forced all their franchisees. And the thing is, they can't. Like Chick-fil-A has the model. You could only own 1 or 2 Chick-fil-A's because they want their owner operators actually there working. The problem with all these other establishments is you can own hundreds,
Yeah, you get
And-
little
and-
mini monopolies.
and there's no quality control, like because the owners are just an owners group, and quite frankly, they don't. And so you get what you get. Listen.
Unless it's Shaq running Krispy Kreme.
Do you like Krispy Kreme?
I
I don't.
There's a
I'm
place
not- I don't
called
like donuts. You know that.
Donuts
Yeah.
out here. Bosa Donuts is probably better.
Yeah. The Shake Shacks are a little bit different because they're Danny. Well, I don't know if Danny Meyer how invested he is anymore, but a little bit different of a story.
Tim, are you a connoisseur of donuts? Do you
No.
know your donuts?
I haven't had a donut
You're
since
not?
since the end of 2018.
Wait, you had a donut? Didn't you have a donut the other day though?
No, he's
On the
keto boy,
phones.
man. He's on the keto.
So
He had a
you were
he had a
holding
picture
up
of
that
the-
donut, but you didn't eat
Oh, you
it.
had a picture of a donut.
I
There's
just
a
know
picture
what
of a
good
donut.
donuts are. It's not like I forgot. It's not like I forgot what a good donut is. You got to teach the children well. What's that? Teach your children well. Let them know sour cream donuts with the Krispies are great.
Oh, those are the lyrics.
So, yeah, those are
Yeah.
exactly
Have
what they're-
a donut.
Yeah, you got to teach
I
your
remember
kids,
that.
man.
I never heard that song. Yeah, what is
that?
that? I know that one.
You got to. It's
That's
Crosby, Stills, and Nash,
Oh.
and without Young.
CSN, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Which I saw an interview with Crosby, Stills. CBS Sunday Morning is the best television show in America.
No, it's not.
Is there a 24-hour Kiss
Right.
channel I don't know about? And so they had Crosby, Stills, and Nash on. Man, they just shit all over Young. They're just like, I'm like, wow, you people have a lot of disdain here for Young. Neil Young did not get any love in it. So listen, Danny, there's a COVID issue going on here, and I want to. This what I'm about to read to you isn't. We're not a COVID. We are not a COVID show, folks. Okay, if you haven't figured out from the banter at the beginning of the show, we are a Taco Bell and donut show. We're also going to show you something here that I want you to pay attention to. So I'll just read you. This came from the city of Rowlett, which is DFW is a very large metroplex. I don't know if it's the largest. Phoenix has a metroplex too, where it's Scottsdale, Phoenix. Like LA is another big metroplex.
You just call it all Southern California.
Yeah, like you get the Southland and stuff like that. So DFW though, the metro, it's pretty big. And so Rowlett is a suburb of Dallas. And so DFW hospital, they have a hospital. DFW Hospital Council has reported there are no staffed pediatric ICU beds available anywhere in the North Texas Trauma Service area. Let's see here. Fast forward, the highest level ever of pediatric COVID-19 patients are being treated right now in the region. Hospitals are reporting Currently admitted COVID-19 patients almost number 2,700. That might not sound a lot, but it's a big surge. The surge in COVID patients combined with critical staffing shortages, which is interesting, could affect the capacity of North Texas hospitals to treat new patients. So follow CDC guidelines. So I only read that to you because a new consumer sentiment survey came out this morning. They come out on Fridays, and it's a big deal. So I've got a three chart up on your screen here, and these are Y charts. And so I like Y charts. If you like charts, I think Y charts are some of the best charts out there.
Economic fundamental.
I can do with Y charts. It's like Thinkorswim isn't really good for this. There's a dearth. Is that a word? Of information on Thinkorswim economically, where you can chart it. It's just not intuitive, and
So you got to put it together yourself. Y charts kind of does.
Yeah, and so here's U.S. consumer sentiment. You can see it's now you got this big tail off here.
Whoa.
And then I've got the S&Ps, and you're like, Tim, what are you going to get to here? Because S&Ps are on a skyrocket, right? And I want you to see the money supply. So I've got U.S. money supply, I've got S&Ps, and I've got consumer sentiment. Before we had QE, and I did a study on this. I was in my master's program back in 2016, 2018, and I'm always looking for not lagging indicators, but leading indicators. Something that give me
at least concurrent.
At least concurrent, and that without being facetious and assuming that at the end of the day, stock nerds like when you look back, go, it's clear in hindsight. That doesn't usually help a stock nerd or market level. When you have something that is kind of leading edge or on the precipice of helping you make decisions, I find that stuff to be much more valuable. Just like I don't like to back test a lot. If I have a theory, I usually will just buy one share or short one share or buy one call or buy one put. And I call that future testing for myself. And so I watch things more closely when I'm financially invested, if that makes sense. So this consumer sentiment thing is really interesting. So I have it going back 10 years. And when you would get dips in consumer sentiment, they kind of line up with dips. Of course, they're not as exaggerated. But if you look at the S&Ps, you can see little dips, these little dips. And I think you should throw out this COVID era. Because, how many times can you get a pandemic, right? The start of a pandemic. But you can see consumer sentiment did recover a little bit. And now it's been ebbing lower. And I wonder at what point that takes hold. Because the study I was doing in my master's class, I could actually see when you got down, like if you downloaded all the price data and downloaded all the, you get it from Fred, the Fred website that comes out of St. Louis. You could see that a move prior in consumer sentiment led to a little bit of price drop off, and think 200, 300 points in S&Ps, which, by the way, it's a pretty big move. 200, 300 points in S&Ps. Every one S&P point is roughly about equivalent to 8 Dow points. If you're more attuned to Dow speak, and so conversely, though, I found that if price wasn't moving upward in S&Ps, but consumer sentiment was, bet on consumer sentiment driving future stock prices, because 70% of our economy is probably more than 70%. We're a consumer-driven economy, folks. We're not an industrial-based economy like China is an industrial-based economy. We are a service-based economy, which means we're a consumer-based economy. And you want Americans out there spending. So I put on the screen here at the bottom the U.S. money supply, or the M2. What Jay Powell himself, like, you go to Uncle Jay, Jay says, "What you need?" And you say, "I need some money, Uncle Jay." And Uncle Jay just reaches into his billfold and he opens up his wallet and he hands you what you want. And that's what you've seen here. This is the steepest increase in the money supply. So the analysis I'm giving you right now, stock market lovers, may not be accurate. Like, of course, it's a market, anything can happen. But we've not seen this injection of money into the economy before. And no matter what study you see coming out of price indexes, whether it's consumer or industrial, and they're still at 10-year highs. Like producer price indexes are still hovering at 10, 12-year highs. New numbers that came out this morning. Our dollars are worth less. It's just a function of there's so many dollars being injected. Imagine you got this dollar. Anybody ever see that baking show on Nailed It? Nailed It is a baking show on Netflix. You ever see Nailed It, Zach?
Yeah, it's baking show people people who are not professional bakers come on and do their best and do a terrible job usually.
That's exactly what it is. Yes, nailed it. And so that's what they say. Anyway, so at the end of the show, when somebody wins, they have this dollar gun, and they just shoot them with dollars. Can you get a dollar gun, Zach, and make that happen?
Yeah, you can get that on Amazon.
No, I just meant on the screenshot that you do for our YouTube channel. And this segment, Danny, not brought to you by Danny's Spice Rubs, the best rubs for your meat, brought to you by the Revere Asset YouTube channel. So if you guys, Alex, tell the folks what they're going to win when they go to Revere Assets YouTube channel.
You busted us. Alex is disconnected.
Oh my gosh, Alex is disconnected?
He is. He's been missing this whole time.
I had no idea.
He's having computer issues.
Oh, is that? He is? Well, I'll tell you what you're going to win. You're going to win
right.
all of our classes. You're going to win all of our content. If you subscribe and you hit the little bell on your, when you subscribe, the little ding, what you're going to get is when Alex drops one of his individual stock videos there, you're going to get that too. And so Danny, I'll give you a little update here on the old subscriber list. So we have asked you, Stock Nerds Market, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And you have in droves. We now have 237 subscribers. Growing.
Yes.
From
0.
Yes. And so, 1, thank you. Huge thank you. 2, everybody, if you just do us a favor, forward our content. If you find a favorite video you like this video made a difference for my investing. If you forward to someone you love, and you can subscribe to our channel and set that little alert and maybe make a comment. If you just email us on the honor system that you did one of those things. Danny, is that Zach? I mean, Alex?
No.
No, that was me dropping my phone on the.
That was a mic drop.
The mic drop, yes.
Right.
If you do that, Danny will send you some of his soon-to-be world-famous spice rub, which is, I hear,
much better than Taco Bell's.
Good on vegetables, too. And so, but look, this
You guys
money...
hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you, Alex.
Just fine.
So can everybody else.
Welcome back, friend. Welcome back. So, look, the money supply changes all the dynamics. But here's the thing. And while everyone's talking about tapering, in terms of bond tapering, right? Like Jay Powell is just going to slow down how many bonds. Instead of buying 10, he's going to buy 5, right? That doesn't mean the money supply is going to slow down. And so if the money supply dips, I think do I watch consumer sentiment here or do I watch money supply? I think you watch them concurrently, but this is a pretty steep drop off. And if you look in the consumer sentiment, and if the consumer tightens up, I just think that this economy struggles a little bit. Doesn't mean I'm not claiming to be recession. I just don't. If we stop spending, that's a bad thing. And if you didn't realize,
how are you going to stop spending when they're just going to print trillions?
I don't know if that exists. I don't know.
That's their plan. They're not going to slow down.
I don't know if that's. I don't know if we have the stomach for it. Any more printing? Like, didn't we, in theory, fire all the
problem is they've already got the votes. Doesn't matter what the American people want.
Right.
They're pushing this through, and they're about to print because they don't. You're not.
But that's all factored in, Dan. But that bill that was just passed. But by the way, Joe Manchin. They passed the infrastructure bill. Okay, they passed the infrastructure bill, but the spending bill is being held up by none other than Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin's running this country. Joe Manchin, if something happened to Joe Biden, right? And look, no jokes. Let's hope nothing happens then, right? But if something happened to Joe Biden, Joe Manchin is going to run this country. I got the next cup of coffee. I'll take that bet from everyone. I'll owe people 1 million cups of coffee, but if I'm wrong, but I'll take that bet with anybody. That sometime in the future, you will see Joe Manchin on a ticket. But that's not here nor there. I think though that this dip of consumer sentiment has now taken you back to when the pandemic hit. That's pretty staggering. And how can that be, Danny? How can you have consumer sentiment wane like? And it's, by the way, it just didn't start today. It's been going down for a little while now. How can we have such low consumer expectations? Like when they call you, like, hey, what do you think of the economy? Bad. Like, how can you say that when the reopening trade, right?
Well, the growth rates and stuff are slowing down.
There's something afoot here.
And if you factor in inflation, because the real inflation is higher than what they're projecting. So if you have growth in, you adjust growth for inflation.
Right.
Growth is pretty feeble right now.
So look, now I'm going to translate it into what's happening in the market. Okay, and then I've got another big topic. But look, let's just look at the NASDAQ chart here. And so when rates go higher, if they go higher from here, and I'll show you TNX here in a moment, the 10-year Treasury yield. If rates do or yields do continue to move up, I think you're going to continue to see the NASDAQ underperform here. And I've got a trend line. I'm not the big trend line person. Like, they're useful sometimes. They're just tertiary in my world. Like I don't the dude doesn't abide by trend lines. But it's interesting that you hit this high. I got an hourly chart up here, the NASDAQ futures last Thursday. And you can see that you've come up and wicked it twice now, and you can't clear it. And TNX has a lot to do with that. And so I think you'll see the NASDAQ underperform if this continues. If consumer sentiment, like it's like a perfect storm brewing, right? If consumer sentiment sinks and the consumer starts tightening up, consumer starts tightening up, and Jay Powell is actually going to taper, and we'll know a lot more after Jackson Hole. I think Jackson Hole is next week, maybe the following week. And they're going to signal probably out at Jackson Hole, that unless they don't go, unless they just do it virtually. I think you'll see the NASDAQ underperform here. And does that mean the whole market sells off? I don't know. I mean, you've got this great rotation that takes place every time the market looks like it wants to pull back, like a certain group of stocks work, a certain group of stocks don't work. But this is all interesting, and it's all brewing. Like right now, heading into the fall. Doesn't mean you don't, I think setups are setups, like, so Tim, what do you do with this? Well, like, what's working in this market? What's outperformed this week? It's interesting what's outperformed this week. You've had the banks outperform, the Steelies outperform, you've had the industrials outperform. And so does that mean you just, kick to the curb the NASDAQ stocks? No, because there's always going to be a certain group of stocks that works within the side of an industry, but it's something to be aware of on a more macro level. And we don't usually talk macro things on the videos that we do 5 nights a week, which, by the way, you can find those videos on our YouTube channel, right? Or you can find them on our website. But our YouTube channel, we put the red meat. Hey, these are right now micro. Like, we're right in here. We're in the fight 5 nights a week, Monday through Friday. We produce 5 of those videos a week.
Alex, what did you do for our YouTube channel?
Definitely like, share, and subscribe.
There you go.
Turn on
And
that bell
Alex-
notification.
And Alex will absolutely positively drop videos in there. He's our video sniper. He's just going to pop up. He's going to shoot a video in there. And he's going to pop down. And you're only going to know it if you subscribe and hit the alert. Because
and those are timely.
Yeah, if you subscribe and hit the alert, you're going to get Alex's videos. And so I think he dropped one in there last week. Not one this week. Maybe we'll get Alex when he sees a target of opportunities, what they call it.
He's nailed it.
Yeah,
when he sees a target of opportunity, he will drop one. So then, Daniel, with that out of the way, I thought that was more timely and more might be more timely and more interesting. By the way, Don, I should give you a moment. Do you have anything to say about what I just said? I'm sorry. Chance to
No, I mean, you know how I feel about looking at macro things to make decisions. I'll let the charts decide for me because ultimately that'll be decided there.
Yeah, I don't think we're in disagreement there. That's kind of what I'm like. You can't say consumer sentiment bad, markets are going to tank. Like it's just a heads up. Like that's all it is. It's just a heads up. And watching. I don't think though you can watch consumer sentiment anymore without watching money supply.
Oh, for a mid or longer term outlook, you got to look at money supply. I'd like to make a couple comments.
Number one, this is up your wheelhouse. I'm sorry.
The Fed may talk a little hawkish and talk about tapering, but there's no way they can. Leverage works both ways. If they start pulling back the money supply, it's going to tighten and you're going to cause a bear market. They don't want to do that. They don't want to be responsible. I will say from one thing, if you want to talk kind of about the macro view, one thing that could be going on, because remember, politicians on both sides, I'm not taking one side or the other. I really, I'm agnostic when it comes to making money. But one thing they could be doing, which it kind of dovetails with what you're saying, Tim, is they could be creating a scare, a fear around this COVID, so that consumer sentiment and other things, people do get a little scared and pessimistic to help them pass this big spending bill, not only this infrastructure bill, but the next spending bill to get their agenda passed and then unleash a big amount of money. So you could actually see a pullback and then a big rally after that if all this money starts coming in. Who knows? But that's why you got to follow the charts.
Yeah, there's definitely some politics and cynicism go hand in hand, right? Yep. And so, anyway, something to watch.
They know we know what they are. Now we're just haggling over price.
Go ahead.
Do you mind pulling up a chart of TLT with the ATRs on there, the ATR lines? Sorry, my brain's drawing a blank. I'm looking at another thing over here.
No worries.
I was just curious where it was at in relation to its ATR.
TLT. I'll set it up for folks. TLT is bond price.
20-year Treasury,
yeah, and I actually think a 20-year Treasury exists now.
No, it's the average maturity on that is,
and so
no, it's a 30-year. They don't do anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So, I get prices on ZB all the time. ZB is the futures contract on 30-year notes, 30-year Treasuries. So there's the third ATR, and then third ATR starts pulling back, can't rally. You're back at the mean. So here's the thing: this bond price move, if it gets rejected at the mean. I'm sorry, Hunter. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, I mean that's really what I was looking at too. Is that we got extended? It looks like it kind of bounced off the -1 to -2 ATR on TLT, which also corresponds to the 50-day and the 200.
Yeah.
Which when you're applying moving averages to all this, I don't know how applicable it is in the same conversation or capacity that it is towards stocks. But it's a big move for TLT getting through 147 and 148. That's a big move today. But there are still some moving averages overhead. So ideally, I think, like you're saying, if TLT just stalls out here and heads back lower pretty quickly, that would be somewhat concerning. But if it powers through and continues higher, I think that's bullish for technology.
Oh no, that is. I 1,000% agree with you. TNX here. Yields coming down almost 5% today is why you're seeing positivity, I think, in markets right now. But if TNX,
the rates,
the rates were just last week were at 1.12. You're trading 1.3 now. These are gargantuanly large moves in the bond market.
Percentage-wise, with incredibly low rates.
Yeah.
Historically low rates.
Yeah, I mean, these are
just a little teeny move, even though it's a 5%, sounds big. You're talking about 0.1 of 1%. And think about if we go up 0.5% or a whole percent, bond market's going to get taken to the woodshed.
Yeah, it's absolutely. I don't know what to compare it to. These are just large moves, and
that's why the Fed can't take it.
You're going to get a rate shock. There'll be a rate shock, and then there'll be the overreaction to the rate shock. The rate shock's coming. I just don't know which direction.
Yeah, it won't be from the Fed. It'll be from something else.
That's exactly it. Mark that down. Actually, there's going to be a rate shock. That's I think what this is all setting up for. Whether it's up or down, and it won't be the Fed that causes it. It's going to be somebody. There's going to be people on the wrong side of the trade, whatever the trade is. So, big picture stuff here. So, Don, you were talking last week. There's something tucked into the infrastructure bill about Is it electric vehicles or is it just vehicles in general, Don? Can you tell the audience about
it? They're talking about limiting the subsidy to only people that make less than $100,000 and only if the car is below 40,000. Which initially people thought was going to hurt Tesla, but Tesla's working on a $25,000 car that's supposed to be their next big mass market version.
and then
I really haven't checked out many of the prices. I don't know how many of these EVs are less than 40,000.
Not many, I don't think. What is there a mileage
Model
tax?
3 is.
They're talking about.
They are talking about a mileage tax too.
Yeah. What are they saying? I don't know. I'm not being facetious. Tell me about the mileage. Did that pass this version of the infrastructure bill?
Not sure. I saw that. And that's if you don't have certain members of the media sneaking in and looking at these 2,700 page bills, you wouldn't find out little nuggets like this.
Because the Congress isn't reading it.
Try to.
What is the mileage tax? Is literally just that, like so many cents per mile.
Well, so they're talking about a mileage tax, which would actually be very regressive. It would hurt the poor and middle class much worse.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But also they're also talking about like 50% of the cars by 2030 or 2040 being electric.
Pause.
I mean, that's
exactly where I want to go.
Huge.
Okay, 20 or 30% of the cars being electric, and so
50%.
So here's the thing. I'm going to present something to you that's a little bit more, that's more macro than what I just did. Okay, this is a macro show, but I think what we're on, Dan, is a Kodak moment, and so Kodak for the younger audience, everything. I mean, Kodak dominated.
You're not talking about the bear. You're talking about the camera. Kodiak,
not Kodak. There's no Kodak bear. Did we just get Kodak bear? Can you do a Kodak bear? Zach, look at Zach. Zach, we got a lot of choices here. I don't think there's a Kodak bear. There's a Kodiak bear.
Yeah, I was clarifying.
I think there's a Kodiak audience. Chewing tobacco, which is a couple steps.
Let's see. We've got Smokey Bear. We've got Yogi Bear. We've got Timmy Bear. Yes, there is a Kodiak bear.
Yeah, there's no Kodak.
There's a Kodak. I know. I was clarifying for the younger audience.
Oh, you said that. Oh, you were calling it a Kodak bear.
I was clarifying to make sure they didn't misunderstand you.
Oh, what a community service that was.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was very nice of you.
You'd be surprised.
So listen, I think we're on a Kodak moment here, and I think we're on with these EVs. Okay, I want to approach it from this point of view. For those of you that don't know, Kodak could have owned digital photography. Like they could have been, whether they chose to be the hardware in the 70s and 80s of it, it didn't matter. They could have been hardware. I think they would have been better off being the software, the engine inside of every device taking pictures, processed by Kodak, just like all the pictures were like Fuji was a big processor and Kodak was the biggest processor of them all. But just like Microsoft for years until Satya Nadella might be one of the best CEOs to ever come around. He fixed what Steve Ballmer almost wrecked. Steve Ballmer led a period of non-growth in Microsoft.
The lost decade.
The lost decade of Microsoft under Steve Ballmer. And by the way, the Clippers will be the lost team of the NBA with so much talent and yet run by such a fool. And like, well, Tim, he's a lot more successful than you. Yeah, so take fool with a grain of salt.
Tim, do you watch basketball by chance?
Oh, Hunter, stop bringing up sports.
No, this is actually not a basketball reference. This is strictly to the Clippers owner here.
Go ahead.
In the playoffs, the Clippers owner was it's a famous little scene. He was on the bench. He's very excited. He's got two young men on each side of him, and he's very, very handsy with the young man's thighs.
That's a lawsuit waiting to happen, right?
So that's what he's known for in my head.
Well, have you seen the Windows dance when they launched Windows 95 and there's Bill Gates? Google that. Everybody at home right now, just pause where you're at.
Stop what you're doing.
Stop what you're doing. Fellas, Alex and Hunter, can you guys Google the Steve Ballmer dance, please? And then we'll just get their facial reactions.
Stocks. We're going down a cultural rabbit hole.
We'll just get their facial reactions.
Brought to you by Hunter Mozingo.
Should I pull it up? I'll pull it up. You know what? Why make the viewership do the work here? Listen, this is dangerous. I'm going to the Google machine. Okay? I don't know what's going to come up when I put Steve Ballmer Dance in here.
Is this the one on the red shirt at the basketball game?
I'll keep your screen off.
Okay, so here, Steve. Oh, look, I put in Steve Ball, not even Steve Ballmer. And look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down is Steve Ballmer Microsoft Dance. Steve Ball triggers.
I can't find the other one.
Put it on there.
I'm about to. Just had to point that out. Here we go, folks. Okay, commercial.
I think we'll get flagged. Don't full screen it for me, would you? I don't want to get.
I'm not going to full screen.
I don't want to get content feed.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yeah, this is a bad one.
I don't think.
Steve Ballmer. Let's see here.
Bill Gates is just as bad, I feel like.
Yeah, but let's just focus on Steve Ballmer.
Hey, turn the volume down on that, would you? Please? Just a little bit. Okay.
This is Steve Ballmer, former CEO of Microsoft.
Oh man!
Wow.
He's running
have you
and
guys
jumping
ever
and
seen
leaping across the screen, the stage.
Have you seen where Chris Farley comes into Saturday Night Live?
Yes.
This reminds me of a Kmart version of Chris Farley trying to hype up the crowd.
Well, it's like Steve Ballmer has a van down by the river.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
He looks so mad.
No, this is happy.
He looks like he is under the influence of.
This is the same guy who didn't think the iPhone was going to work.
Yes, I agree, Hunter.
Yeah.
That was the 90s, too. You got to remember, that was the party era. Late 90s.
He looks like he's about to have a heart attack. If this isn't if this isn't an advertisement for Go Run.
Wow.
All right. Okay. He loves the company. That's
so Steve Ballmer just about ruined Microsoft by holding on. The whole point of this stuff, holding on too long to the Office complex, where it's disks. We're going to be doing disks. We're not going to do anything in the cloud.
Didn't move forward.
Just no vision, right? And Satya Nadella has all this vision in the world, which I find. I mean, what a contrast! The fact somebody probably had I don't know why Steve Ballmer left, but it had to be a gargantuan force to get Satya Nadella in there. But Steve Ballmer left. By the way, owns more stock than Bill Gates at this point in Microsoft. Just a side note there.
Including the foundation?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about the foundation, but definitely more than Bill Gates. So anyway, Kodak could have, in the set, Kodak developed the digital photography software. Like, they had it, but they refused to market it. They refused to develop it. I didn't even try for the joke there. They didn't want to kill their processing business. They didn't want to kill what they already, hundreds of millions of dollars being generated by people dropping off their 126 cartridges, 35 millimeter rolls, and all this other stuff. And they squashed the innovation, and they let companies like Sony and Canon just steal it from them. And now with iPhone. But if you think about what Kodak could have done, they could have taken on an Intel strategy where all the PCs in the 90s and the early 2000s you couldn't get away from it. It was Intel inside, right? One of the greatest marketing campaigns. Intel chips inside, better than AMD. Intel inside, and Kodak could have been the processor, like Kodak inside of any device, to make it. And what a missed opportunity. And I think part of me thinks gas stations are having that moment right. And I think they're about to lose to power companies. And I think it has everything to do with electric cars here. And so you just said it, Danny, 50% of the vehicles being produced by 2030. Who knows if that date
That's
slides.
why you need such a massive bill.
Hold on a second. 50% of the cars being produced have to be electric, right? Like, there's this push, whether you agree with it, Tim, they're powered by coal, because electricity is still powered.
Mining for lithium.
The whole 9 yards. Like, I don't want to discuss that part of it. It's coming. At this moment, it's coming. So something better comes along. It's coming. And it's being legislated to come. It's not, whether it's true.
Not supply and demand.
And here's the thing, like sometimes it is difficult to separate money and politics, right? And just this week, you had the administration the federal administration asking some of our not so friendly allies to pump more oil so we can we could have energy independence here in America. But we're making it very difficult to pump oil in this country with this new administration. And we've asked our OPEC friends, has anyone ever said the word our OPEC friends? Our OPEC friends to pump more. Seems not like a great idea. Thank you. Yes. Doesn't seem like we have the ability.
Seems un-American.
Well, it seems like, hey, we have this amazing technology and this amazing natural resource that would really help. You talk about regressive tax. Higher fuel is the ultimate regressive tax on Americans because we don't have great public transit. We're a very big, large, spread out country.
Well, that's the other motive.
Yeah.
Public transport.
And so if you're trying to drive people to these electric vehicles, drive people, man, I am just good at the unintended pun today. I developed earlier and now drive. You're trying to drive people to these electric vehicles. Well, the way to do it is through higher fuel prices, right? And the way to make it look like you're seeming to try to fix the issue to the voter is
it's like they fix college, man. Cost of college.
Right. Like that's going to go down. And oil's not. And so anyway, that aside, it appears that we're on the precipice of this huge shift, right? It's not tomorrow. It's 5 to 7 years from now. Okay. And so I saw this in the paper the other week and I cut it out and I couldn't wrap why it stuck out to me so much. And then it dawned on me this whole Kodak theory with digital photography. So you guys have racetracks, not racetracks where you go racing. Gas stations. They're called racetracks.
Like Quick Trip.
Yeah, like Quick Trip. Doesn't matter which one. And so gas stations are wrestling with the should we put in EV pumps, right? Should we put in pumps where you would pull up and charge your vehicle? And granted, the technology is just going to get better. Whatever pump you would put in today is going to be just like the iPhone. The iPhone in 2007 when it was introduced, I mean, it's a gazillion times better right now, right? It's all that technology, how fast it takes. Like all the problems of today are not going to go away, but they're going to get diminished. They're going to go down as time goes on. So keep that in mind. But here, charging units and installation typically cost upward of $100,000 each and might entail the expense of tearing up pavement and lay conduit. Automakers, including General Motors, Ford, aggressively expanded their lineups of cars on electric vehicles. Biden set a target of 50 hybrid electric cars and hydrogen fuel cell vehicles 50% by 2030. However, right now, electric vehicles make up only 2 to 3% of U.S. sales. This is the Kodak moment. We don't see, and I'm not saying it's not true, but I just want you to keep in mind, stock nerds, the thought about who had a digital camera when they first started making their way in the mid to late 90s. Not as good. Like you heard all the reasoning, right? This is in my mind, it's a parallel. It's not the exact same thing, it's a parallel. Not enough memory, the clarity, all the things that people said about photography, right? But then, I mean, really nothing else right now, right? Here we go. However, so we don't see an investable marketplace, said AJ Scarandi, president of Metroplex Energy, the fuel supply subsidiary of Racetrack Petroleum, which owns more than 750 racetrack and raceway gas stations. We're perfectly okay with putting capital at risk. The key is we have to have a viable business case. And I don't disagree. There's nothing that he said there that I don't think anyone could disagree with. The money's not there right now. But is it just on the cusp of the greatest baseball game ever played last night, Field of Dreams baseball game? If you build it, will they come? And so,
well, you hit a very key point there. So one reason he's also saying that is when you get those charging stations, right now, you're right. The technology where you can't supercharge it in 3, 4, 5 minutes,
right?
It takes half an hour, 45. So you got a car pulling up sitting there. They go in and sure they buy something because that's really the end game. It's not to fill up your tank of gas. It's to get you there for 10 minutes or 5 minutes so you go buy a bunch of junk in the store and then leave. When you're charging your electric car, you got one person. They only buy a finite amount of stuff, and then they sit there, and it's not. You don't have the turnover of money.
Let's not solve his business case right now. Let's say that he's going to lose out on this business.
No, I see what you're saying. Though you're saying if the technology comes,
you don't see it yet. You don't see it yet, and I'm going to show it to you in a chart. Well, I'm going to show it to you in what I think is going to happen. So on this chart, back to the screens, Daniel. I think what you're going to see is the power companies win this. That I'm not saying gas stations are obsolete. I'm not saying petrol-driven vehicles are obsolete or going obsolete. Like, who knows where this is all headed? But I believe, just like Kodak lost a digital photography moment, the gas stations that you see today are going to lose the war. And they're going to lose it because it's going to be easier for individual consumers to be their own power stations. You're going to see, on your charts, Doc Nerds, look, this looks back 10 years. This doesn't look forward. Like, this doesn't tell me, well, what if this happens? These are Y charts, by the way. And I can plug in here Knee Energy, Chesapeake. I can do the XLU, right? And I think utility companies are going to be the great winner. I think that moving forward, I don't even know. I should have done a little bit more research. Can someone tell me or look up real quick? Is there a universal charger? I don't think there is. I think Tesla has their own adapter. Ford has their own adapter, which is part of the problem too. But I think once you get to universal adapt, can someone please tell me that? Because that is a big part of this. Literally just thought of. That the power.
They're not universal. Tesla's talking about opening theirs up.
Okay. So once you get to universal adapter, power companies come in and, whatever you're paying for your energy is a hell of a lot cheaper than petrol, right? Okay. So you can get a power adapter at your house, or maybe the power station doesn't have the whole infrastructure, EPA, limitations. The power company comes in, it's just a tiny plot of land, where maybe they go where they're they come in and they farm it out to different businesses, and it's the power companies that are going to win. It's not the gas companies. Like, if I was, I would want to try to future-proof my business, and it's going to take that kind of. There's going to be a visionary here in this fuel space that's going to figure this out. Whether it's Murphy USA, whether it's Travel Centers of America, or Casey's General Store, which I could, Casey's, TA. Those are three of the bigger ones that have petrol businesses tied to their, of course, convenience store businesses. But I think, Danny, you hit on something. That you get somebody tied up. Right now it's 30 minutes, right? 20, 30 minutes. Give them a better shopping experience. Like I told you that when I was on my little trip earlier this year with the kids, that I went into a Walgreens, and the whole front of the Walgreens wasn't Walgreens anymore. It was Kroger. Right. So now you can see where if you give them something to do more than just charge up their car, maybe kill two birds with one stone, you've got something more. And then that charging time eventually comes down, maybe by 2030, 2035. But I think that these gas stations, I don't know if they adapt or not.
Oh, they're going to have to adapt.
Well, but will it be too late? Because the power, eventually what I predict you'll see is the power. By the way, this is, if you look at your screen, look at the growth of $10,000 in me. This was really kind of shocking from 10 years ago. So, August, we're doing this show Friday, August 2021. Going back to August 13th, 2011, 10 years. Look at your money has grown in me. Look, I get it. Well, Tim put Tesla, put all the growth stocks in there. This is a utility, folks. Give you a break. That's pretty astounding. You double your money in. Let's see. Excuse me. I'm talking. Do I have the right stock up there? Chesapeake.
That's XLU, CHK, and then NRG is. That's
NRG.
Not NextEra.
Apologize. Energy. Thank you for correcting me. I didn't realize I was saying that wrong. But just look at the growth. Look at the growth of this. This is amazing. Over 10 years. Like you wouldn't think of that as a utility, right? And so I think utilities win this battle. I think they're going to be who dominates power, and then you probably, because you get a tax at the pump to pay for roads in theory, right?
There's a lot of variables, and if they get this mileage per mile tax, you could actually significantly hurt the auto industry, whether it's electric or gas, for mass transit. And there's some huge lobbies. There's some huge lobbies in the background pushing for these big mass area transits.
Yeah, I just wonder that, like, let's pretend that they don't get that through. It's going to be on your electric bill that you're going to see whatever they call the tax. It'll be for the roads, because if the new vehicle is being purchased, they sell. So they sell about 17 million new vehicles a year. Okay, so that's on average. So 17 million brand new, not used, brand new vehicles are typically sold. And so if you've got 8.5 million vehicles every year coming out that have to be some form of electric, eventually you're going to.
Well, we're already paying. There already is a gas tax in place that's very high that was supposed to be to fix the road.
Yeah, but
they've already taken it and spent it for something else.
But less people filling up at a traditional gas pump.
Yeah, I get it. And that'll go down. They got to make up the electric. I get that. So all I'm saying is they've been collecting the money all along to fix the roads, and they never did it.
Right. And so it's interesting to me. Like I just thought of this real quick. I want to see 1 year. Change this chart to 1 year. And then I want to put in like Amazon. See if I can compare Amazon on here. We'll just take away Excel. So Amazon is the green line. Look at this. Over 1 year, $10,000 in Amazon is only 10.41. 10,000, just a little over $10,000. Chesapeake is 15,000. Let's see. I'll make sure. NRG is over 12,000, and XLU over the course of a year has outperformed Amazon. Interesting.
Yeah, go back a year or two, it's just the opposite.
Yeah,
it all depends on the.
But I don't know if hindsight really helps here. Like I wonder.
Well, no. Yeah, I get that. With following the charts, though, that's what I meant. Going forward, you got to follow and see what's going on.
Yeah,
because remember, Chesapeake was coming off a low bottom because they got slaughtered when energy got slaughtered. Gas, oil, nat gas. Yeah. Now they're all rallying back.
All interesting stuff. And look, we don't usually take the time to talk big macro type things. And look, you can if you want stock nerds and market lovers, who's to say that you can't put a couple $1,000 to something that whatever it is. It doesn't, whether it's this or something else you believe in, something that you're not paying the rent money or the college education money or whatever it is that you deem necessary. But I don't think people would have thought Amazon would. I didn't. I just literally thought to do this while I was talking. Over the course of 365 days, that Amazon actually underperformed the utilities. Something to think about. So with that, let's see. We usually go Hunter first, and then Alex. Let's keep that. Same. Do you guys have anything to say about what I just talked about, before we go on with the normal format of the show?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon on that time frame is a little tough because going back to August of last year was basically their peak, which they ran up a little bit higher, prior to this most recent earnings. But I do think it makes an interesting point, Tim. Actually, before we do that, to your point about this bill and how it affects electric vehicles, pull up ALB or LTHM. Sure. Both of these are lithium stocks.
Oh,
and
absolutely do that.
They have been on incredible rallies, perhaps ahead of this bill. And that's ALB and LTHM. So, and these are two leader stocks in their respective categories or their industry groups, but really strong rallies from anything that's related to mining for lithium in particular. Just wanted to highlight that as kind of a little side note to your argument you just made or the point you just made.
All right, what you got this week?
So, believe it or not, I'm actually planning on talking about Chesapeake Energy, CHK.
Really?
Yeah. This is one of the leading, or actually CHK is the leading oil stock at the current moment. And
hold on a second, Hunter. That's it. You know what? We don't plan the show. Like the fellas don't really know. I mean, Danny asked me what I was going to talk about today, and I said electric and oil, and that was it. That's so, man, that's awesome. I like it when we all sync up. Like, hey, go ahead, Hunter. I'm sorry.
Well, all I want to say is that CHK and then LNG. I think it's Chenier is how you say that. LNG.
Chenier.
Chenier, yeah. So these are the two that look the best in the oil and gas area at the moment. But I just want to highlight that some of the names in XLE are starting to come back a little bit better than some of the names in XOP. So that is your Exxon, Chevron, ConocoPhillips.
You're saying recover. You're starting to recover.
Yes. After this most recent sell-off, so oil and gas pulled back roughly, depending on what ETF you're looking at, anywhere from really 20 to 25, 30%. And XLE is a little bit of the more conservative ETF. It's coming back a little bit better than the others. But my point is just to keep an eye on this sector for volume coming in / pushing back above the 21s for XOP, XLE, and OIH. They've been in correction mode for a little over a month now, close to 6 weeks. And that's about how long XME, which is your metals and mining, was in correction mode before it started to turn up. And you've seen what steel has done over the last week or so. STLD, Nucor, Alcoa have been on monster moves. So I want to highlight that just as an area to keep a watch on that is still
What is Alcoa's ticker?
AA.
AA.
I typed an A and I missed an A. I'm like, that's there we go. Thank you.
Yep. So the other sector, interestingly enough, is ITB or home builders, particularly DHI and LEN. Both of these were two of the first to really start showing strength, and they pulled back a little bit over the last few days on lighter volume. So I would just keep an eye particularly on DHI and LEN for maybe a retest of the 21, or just if they continue moving higher. They're both sitting kind of right on the 8-day exponential right now. And also one that we own in Grotection, Square, SQ, is one that really looked like it was about to just blow the top off and break out. And if growth can start to really get a bid, I would keep an eye on this one as one that could possibly touch the 21 and then really rip. It's kind of tiring people out, frustrating people. It hasn't continued or showed strength like you would have thought it would. I would just don't forget about it, because that's often when stocks get ready to go, is when people are done with it. They're frustrated. They've been shaken out. So keep an eye on Square. And then two slightly less liquid names for the audience that I thought they might be interested in. First one is Figs, Tim. This one reported earnings this morning and went down and touched 38, which is a level of support, and then have come back up and reclaimed their moving averages, which are all slightly under 40.
For the folks at home, Figs are scrubs. So they're
Figs is the Lululemon of scrubs. I talked to Nicolette, who is my fiance. She's a physician assistant. And she said most everybody that she's, talked to in the space, they either want a pair or they have a pair. And it's also just something to think about on Figs. It's not like, the optionality of buying a polo, a Brooks Brothers polo versus a Walmart polo. Like, these are clothes that these people work in all day long. So it's not so much as a optional discretionary buy, more as one that something you'd be more willing to spend more money on, I guess is what I'm saying. Kind of like with the mattress. You spend a lot of time in a mattress, so people are willing to spend money on it. You spend a lot of time in your scrubs as a medical professional, so you'd want to, maybe have the nicest pair, that kind of thing.
More importantly, I think, than what you said, well, maybe not more importantly, but the business model innovation of Figs is what they did is they took and it's no different than what Lululemon did. They took commoditized products.
Dressed them up. Yeah.
You take commoditized products and you enhance them with quality, and then you brand them so people understand what the brand represents. Those are the most powerful business models the world has ever seen. And so it's not so much of it's you're innovating on a business model. You're not creating a whole new product per se. And brand lasts longer than products come and go. But if brand can be established as like Lululemon is. It would take so much for Lululemon to destroy its brand. Figs is on the same ilk right now. Like that's what the brand is of style and durability. So they cost more, but you invest in it, and that's what it is.
It's got a lot of goodwill.
Yeah,
and that's exactly what Nicolette said too. Is she said they look better, like stylish wise, and they last longer. So
one of the most powerful business models you could do is take a space that's been overly commoditized and absolutely fix it. Yep.
I got one more, Tim, in the same kind of liquidity area. Celsius. I know we've talked about it on here before. Celsius reported earnings yesterday.
Is that CEH?
CELH. You're thinking of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That would be the running back for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hunter. No sports.
Sorry.
Who is the number one running? Real quick.
No. Let's keep going.
Is it Delvin Cook? Who should I take in a fantasy draft? Hunter?
Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook. I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Thank you.
I have Hunter as my secret weapon for my fantasy league. This is my first year ever doing a fantasy league ever.
Oh, what's your team name?
Guns Catutus. It has to be.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I forgot what they gave me. My buddy that's the league head gave me like Scottsdale Big Guns or something. I'm not even kidding.
Can we change it to Guns Catutus?
I could ask him.
Yeah, like I'd like a fantasy update every week on the Guns Catutus team.
We should do our own Revere fantasy league.
And the only players you can.
All right, Hunter. What's the next stop? Let's not keep going down sports, man. We take these left turns.
Is that because you couldn't play in high school?
Minutes longer.
All right, Hunter, go on.
Go on.
I'm sorry.
All I wanted to say here is Celsius reclaimed the 50 and the 21 after a pretty vicious gap down yesterday morning, got back above those moving averages, which also corresponds to the 70 level kind of operating as support. And now it's down 2% today, but it's sitting right on the 21. So one that's actually at a relatively attractive risk reward level. You can use the low of yesterday or 1% below there as a stop. That's about 5% or so below where it is currently trading. So that's all I've got today, guys.
Awesome. Let's go now to our fantasy football expert, Alex Guns Catutus.
Far from that.
1 second, Alex. The only thing you can draft though are people with big arms, like big biceps. All your players have to have
Tim Tebow right off the board.
Oh, easy to do. Thank you. Hey, 1 second, Don. You got a Tim Tebow weekly update, please? Thank you for saying Tim Tebow.
Still on the team, showing exceptional hands, but it's looking like it's a numbers game, and it would be he's kind of a long shot to make the team.
Have they played a game yet? The Jags, or they play this weekend?
Saturday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, Trevor Lawrence makes his debut in a Jaguars uniform.
Gordon Minshew is a national treasure.
So is his brother Gardner.
Is that? What's his real? What's the quarterback's name?
Gardner.
I
didn't know who you were talking about.
His name's not Gordon.
No, Gardner Minshew. He actually
is that who conceived him? The Gardner.
All right, Guns Catutus. Give us your stocks.
Okay.
Danny, it feels like you don't like athletics. Go ahead, Alex.
But we can talk about sitting down the feet. That's okay.
Athlete of the entire team. We must say that. And from a career standpoint, he's got the pedigree as the only professional athlete among us.
Dan? That's right.
Up until this point.
Well, that's right, Danny. You were a professional. Danny, for those of you that don't know,
player, right?
Was a professional tennis player. Him and Bjorn Borg.
Years ago.
You knew actually Bjorn Borg, right?
Huh?
You knew Bjorn Borg, like the guy.
No, that was before my time.
Oh, really?
Yes, goddamn. Oh,
how old is Bjorn?
Never heard of that.
He won most of his slams in the 70s. I was a kid.
When were you hitting the slams at Denny's?
Well, I was a kid when I was hitting slams at Denny's.
When were you serving up the backhand?
I was in high school in the 80s. Played NCAA in 80s.
Went to SMU.
Early 80s. 80s. Vandy and SMU.
Who was the number one tennis player back then?
Huh?
Who was
Johnny Mack. Johnny Mack was up there. Connors was making a comeback.
You see what Don's doing here, right?
What?
You see what Don's doing here, right?
Yeah.
You don't see it at all.
It was working until you brought it to his attention, Joe.
I just.
Hey, let's go back to stock.
There it is.
There we go.
We can talk sports if it's about me.
Oh, you brought it up. I didn't want to seem elusive.
Boxer or briefs when you were serving up the forehand?
Stocks, Catutus. Guns, Catutus.
Stocks, Catutus.
Okay, are we good? Are we ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for your
Right,
fantasy football stock list. Let's go.
We talked about this stock a couple months ago. RH.
Oh, man. 29 million float. The stocks with low float are just love this RH. Love me some RH.
Yeah, it just needed time. Initially, when it had gapped up back in, I think it was June, it just wasn't ready yet, so it pulled back. But I think it might be ready now. And today it's actually down a little bit, and it bounced off its 8-day exponential moving average, which was a nice sign that maybe some people were waiting for that pullback buy.
Management matters. One second.
Gary Friedman. Management.
CEO is Gary Friedman. This guy is Dallas. He's William Sonoma threw this guy to the curb back in the 90s. I didn't know that. Yeah, back in the 90s. They got an investment from a guy named Ray Hemming and a couple other folks in the mid 90s. Recruited Gary Friedman. Gary Friedman's been running it since the mid to late 90s. Amazing. And Chipotle's like this too, like good management. What's another stock with some great management? I got Chipotle in the group.
I have a couple more, but
let's go back
I'm going. Go ahead, Don.
Relax, Alex. We'll get back to you for
Jeez, it's my time to shine, guys.
Satya Nadella copied the subscription strategy from the Adobe CEO. He's really the guy that was named CEO of the year 4 years in a row recently. I can't remember his name. It is Shantanu Narayan. He's low profile, but an amazing CEO.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, management is what these companies: Adobe, Microsoft, Chipotle, Restoration Hardware. Fantastic. Go ahead, Alex. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Lest I frustrate Danny anymore.
The other stock for a potential pullback buy was AMD. We own this in Grotection. This had some of the biggest volume I've seen in a stock in a long time on a breakout. This area seems to be found a bid, and someone's stepping in, and a couple. I would say my guess is that most big funds like Fidelities and Vanguards are laying this down on the books across the board, because if you look at their portfolios and dig through mutual funds, most of them had NVIDIA in it, but I would suspect that they're going to put this one on. Some funds did have it already, but if you don't own this and you're managing money, you're missing out. I mean, I missed out on the first run, but I was like, okay, the first pullback it has, I'm buying it. And that's what we did at Grotection, and I did that in my beta test portfolio as well. You want to be in those leading stocks. One thing I want to talk about as far as overall market, I call this the Alex indicator. When you see stocks gapping up and holding.
What a clever name.
Real clever. Let's call it the guns indicator. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Shut up, Hunter. when stocks gap up, he's gonna make me laugh. When stocks gap up and they hold their gaps, it's a really good sign that the bull market's gonna stay intact. If they start to fade, I would suspect that things could get a little choppy. But if you pull up a chart of Upstart,
sure.
I was already fully vested, so I didn't really have the opportunity to put anything on with this name. We did buy it at Grotection. Don had positioned and got into this on that. Was the first day you got in, Don, or was it the second?
First day.
Well, yeah, it was the first day. And if you look at that, it's 3-day higher. It's a 3rd-day higher high. That's what you want to see in a bull market, and that's a tech name too. So it's like this week, these names haven't really been working, but Upstart is screaming to all-time highs. So that tells me that, relative, if you're trying growth names, you should, put your risk on and give it a shot.
Just where is the Alex what was the Alex indicator?
If you get gap ups like D-Dog, Team, Upstart, all these gaps,
LC.
and they hold, LC is another one. If they hold their gaps on these leading charts, I would say that the trend is going to continue higher.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, if the market's coming down, these stocks are going to come down too. It's like a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, it goes the other way too. If the tide's going down, I don't care if you're on the Titanic, that's going to come down with it.
But by the way,
that's the way I look at it.
By the way, Don on the YouTube channel, Don did a great 1 hour YouTube educational video on gap rules. It's specifically on gap stocks that gap and how to either buy them and whether you should hold them or sell them real quick, depending on what they do, or avoid them. How to know which ones to buy and which ones to avoid.
It's funny you said that. When I first joined the team, that was the first video Don had sent me. I was watched the gap up rule buys, so I thought that's pretty neat. It is a very good video.
Is LC? It's hard to borrow here. Is that a short float name?
Possibly. They've been beat up pretty bad over the last couple of years. Yeah. They're kind of resurging a little bit. Can I make one comment in relation to the kind of the discussion that Alex is talking about, and you, Tim, and Dan? Just to the earnings reactions we've seen so far. And, every day I scan through the biggest volume movers of pretty much all stocks that are traded, or at least that are liquid enough to be worthy of our attention. And I would say over the course of since earnings season started, going back to big tech and Amazon, those types of names, there's been a pretty good bit of really strong gap ups that have held. There's been really strong or really bad gap downs, but there's also been a lot of initial gap downs and strong names that have ended up being extremely strong reversals. Like Figs is a good example. Yeah. Celsius, I mean, that Roku, which hadn't worked out great since, but it was a strong reversal initially. So there's been a good bit of that. And so I would say it's pretty, I don't think it's like everything's gapping up and holding, or it's the opposite. It seems like it's pretty balanced in regards to how the market is reacting and handling some of these, because for a long time, from like the end of February to mid to end May, really any kind of gap, especially in growth stocks, was sold and faded like resoundingly consistently for a long time. I'd say like 80 to 90% of gap ups from end of February into May on growth stocks were faded heavily. And that's finally started to change at the end of May. And now I think the action's a little bit healthier on the majority of these names. So
I have one more stock.
Hang on. That speaks to overall kind of market sentiment with the technology and growth area, number one. But number two, that's also why you really, if you haven't seen it, should go watch Don's gap rules video, because he shows you whether the stock's going to gap, how to determine whether it's going to gap and crap or gap and hold and move higher. But you're right. To your point, Hunter, it is depending on the kind of the market, overall market sentiment as well.
Yeah. If you could pull up a chart of FTNT, this is an example of what Hunter's talking about. It gapped up, and then look at that bar right there on the earnings. So they gap it down, right? And then someone steps in and drives that thing almost to the previous day's closing price. That is an awesome reversal. I wish I had an alert set. I would have gotten in down there. I didn't. You live and you learn. But that was one that bar is so rare, and it's a great tool to use for like what Hunter was talking about as far as a gap down and then reversal. That's a great reversal bar. That's it.
Awesome. Real quick before we go to Don, this is interesting. I was looking at this while Hunter was talking. So look at the so Figs is down, not bad. 160. This thing just came public a little while ago. 160 million shares. Like the float of Restoration Hardware is 29 million, Chipotle 25 million, 160 million shares. And then I was curious, like, what is the What else was the float of LC? Just 9. I mean, in comparison to what did I just have up there? SoFi.
I think Figs.
Oh, Figs. Thank you. 98 million. But look at SoFi. SoFi is getting crushed today, down almost 14%. That I would think that's a mistake, but it's almost 800 million.
Well, but you also got to take consideration the price. Price will affect
Totally,
it as well.
you do. I mean, Chipotle's an
Yeah.
$1,800
$15 share,
$180 stock.
Yeah, $15 share versus 45
that
million.
float hasn't increased, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah,
they came. They didn't buy back a bunch of stock.
Right.
The smaller the float, I think the better.
Well, you got to use percentages. Is all I'm saying. Because they know what the IPO price is going to come out at, so they know how many shares they got to issue for that. So you got to take.
I think it's the funding. It's the how many rounds of funding did SoFi have to get before it became public, and who had to get paid off.
It's the demand and how many people want to cash out.
800 million shares, Dan. Jesus, that's a.
Tim, do you find that there's a sweet spot in float size? I've always found like 60 to 120
I'm
million.
looking. I'm actually looking for it. That's why I've been talking about it a lot lately. I'm actually researching.
Yeah.
But
let me know.
Well, and it's changed because of the startup landscape. Like this, when did DoorDash? How many like Series F? When did Airbnb just reported? Not down much, but look at 617 million shares. Like it's
a lot.
The whole landscape has changed this last 5 to 7 years because they stayed private longer. And look at Hood. I mean, it's almost 1 billion shares. I mean,
that's a lot. That's a $50.
Oh, that's a lot.
Well, no, but that's a $50 stock. Okay. On 700 million on a $15 stock, that's not a lot.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's a ton of shares, like
percentage to the company.
It's a ton. It's a ton. Anyway, Don, what you got, man?
I want to clarify something. Not only am I twice the combined ages of Alex and Hunter, I am
You're twice as good looking.
Twice as good looking, and from a fantasy football perspective,
oh my
I know twice as much combined as they do. This is the trophy that we've been using in my league since 1990.
That's cool.
That's every year the winner gets tacked on to the side of it. So this was back when you had to calculate the stats by hand.
I didn't know what the thumbnail was going to be.
Don, throw it down the gauntlet.
Do you have?
Can you snatch a pebble from my hand, grasshopper?
Do you have a league, Don, where you have to do something embarrassing if you come in last?
No. That.
I've got an idea for that, Tim.
What's that?
So my friend and I are starting a dynasty league, and so we discussed the punishment thing, and we had ran across this idea of the last place person has to dress up as a maid and serve as the butler at the next in-person draft and bring everyone drinks and food.
That's not bad.
It's not so bad.
That's not
Hunter,
bad.
if you lose, I'll fly down for that.
There's not a lot of public shame.
We have an opening in our league, and I saved the team name Guns and Sweetums for Hunter and Alex if they want to combine. But
Hunter,
so far,
should we
they're
do
afraid it? Afraid to join the grizzled veterans.
Don's intimidating me. Don's intimidating me. He's trying to show the trophy and his name on there. I feel like me and Guns Katutis. Actually, that might make a great story for the year. Can Guns Katutis?
We should just do it so we can end it. If we win, we could we'll hold the title.
Sweetums, Sweet Guns
trophy right in the back of your office there.
Yeah, my money's on Don.
No, I think the young guys got
this. Wow, Dan, we got it.
I think you don't know how long I've been playing fantasy football.
I think
I was a toddler.
Yeah, well, that yesterday. So I think that Hunter and Alex would beat Don. I think I absolutely do.
Oh, I love that.
Both of those guys are alive.
Is Don the commissioner?
Together, yeah.
Don, are you the commissioner of the league?
32nd year in this league. I'm the commissioner, of course.
Well, that's why he would win. He would just manipulate. I'm sure he manipulates.
Oh yeah, I can always manipulate.
Already said that. All right. Well, we could talk about this for the next 20 minutes. Don, let's hear your stocks.
let's talk about another gap up that took a little bit of a rest, and we've added to it twice now in house. Datadog, DDOG, and this is following the formula: massive volume gap up, pulled back, touched the ADMA, rested for a little while, and over the last 2 days went screaming higher. And there's a lot of these going on. Chipotle is one we don't own, but that's another one that had a gap up and really just didn't let you in until this most recent pullback. When growth leaders like that are working, it's certainly a reason to be optimistic about the market. But as always, we've got our stops in place.
Hey Don, I've got
minor
one
changes to the 21 list this week, and I'm also going to go over our balance at risk calculation into a little bit more detail again. Some people have asked about that, which is basically what's the maximum drawdown if you would get stopped out on all your holdings.
The rebar.
The rebar, Revere estimated balance at risk.
All right. Well, all that shows up. Tell you what, Danny, let's do that. Where can they find all that great information this weekend when they do all that research? Take us home, Dan.
Folks, if you like what you heard, please tell a friend, tell a neighbor, send them to revereasset.com. We won't spam them or reach out to them in any way. It's up to them to reach out to us. If they want a free complimentary portfolio review, just have questions or have topics they'd like to hear on the air, you can email any of us, Dan at revereasset.com, Tim at revereasset, Don at revereasset, or Hunter or Alex at revereasset.com. You can also call us old school at 855-REAL-WEALTH.
All right. I don't have any one last thing this week.
All right. Well, then we'll talk to you next week on Your Money.